Welcome back to CIA Declassified. We've tracked the cross-border terror of Operation Condor, but now we turn to a moment where the agency's reach exceeded its grasp. In 1957, Washington was convinced that Syria was sliding behind the Iron Curtain. The plan was classic agency tradecraft: provoke internal unrest, stage border incidents with neighboring Jordan and Iraq, and install a pro-Western regime. But while the CIA was busy plotting, the Syrian counterintelligence service was busy listening. This was Operation Straggle. When you try to orchestrate a coup from the backseat of a Cadillac in Damascus, you shouldn't be surprised when the locals take the keys. Operation Straggle was a joint project between the CIA and the British MI6, intended to take place alongside the Suez Crisis of 1956, but delayed until 1957. A quote from the 1957 Bruce Lovett report: "The agency's involvement in Syrian internal affairs has been marked by a lack of coordination and an overestimation of the capabilities of local assets." End quote. The agency set up fake radio stations in neighboring countries that broadcasted pre-recorded revolutionary messages to the Syrian public, but most were tuned to the wrong frequencies. A quote from a declassified cable by Howard Stone, chief of station: "The situation in Damascus is fluid. Our primary contact indicates the army is ready to move, provided the radio signals are clear." End quote. The declassified release confirms that the Syrian government eventually expelled 3 U.S. diplomats, including Howard Stone, after catching them in a sting operation involving stalled tank columns that never intended to march. Technological breakthroughs included the Desert Burst Radio, a prototype device designed to transmit encrypted coup instructions over long distances without needing a permanent antenna. A quote from a 1957 internal MI6 critique: "The American tendency toward theatrical operations has once again alerted the target to our presence before the first shot was fired." End quote. The declassified files document Operation Wake, a sub-operation where the agency attempted to drop caches of arms in the Syrian desert, but the coordinates were so inaccurate that the weapons were found by local goat herders. Agency officers in Langley developed heat-resistant film for hidden cameras to withstand the extreme temperatures of the Damascus summer during dead drops. The declassified records confirm that the Syrian intelligence chief Abdel Hamid al-Sarraj, Alsarraj, had successfully placed a mole inside the agency's own communication hub in Beirut. The agency utilized psychological leaflets dropped by unmarked planes, but the Arabic translation was so poor that the messages were mocked by the local population. The declassified release highlights the Langley encryption box, a portable cipher machine given to Syrian conspirators that was secretly equipped with a tracking beacon. The failure of Straggle led directly to the formation of the United Arab Republic, a short-lived union between Syria and Egypt, which was exactly what the agency wanted to prevent. A quote from President Dwight Eisenhower: "We are having a very difficult time in Syria. It seems the more we stir the pot, the more the soup boils over in our faces." End quote. The declassified archives show that the agency spent over $5 million in 1957 on a mercenary force that never actually left their training camps in Turkey. Agency technicians developed signal jamming vans disguised as civilian laundry trucks, but they stood out in Damascus because they were the only clean vehicles in the city. The declassified release documents Operation Sand, a failed attempt to poison the water supply of a Syrian military base to cause tactical diarrhea during the planned coup. The agency utilized the Langley Language School to train agents in the Damascus dialect, but their accents were so thick they were identified as foreigners more often than not. The declassified logs show that the U.S. 6th Fleet was placed on high alert to support the coup, but they never received the green light signal because the agency's transmitter had melted in the sun. One of the primary Syrian contacts for the coup was actually a double agent who used the agency's bribe money to fund the Syrian Communist Party. The declassified release confirms that Operation Straggle was the first time the agency attempted to use television propaganda in the Middle East. A quote from a 1958 post-mortem analysis: "We did not understand the nationalist fervor of the Syrian street. We treated the country like a chessboard when it was actually a house of mirrors." End quote. Agency cryptolinguists spent 6 months developing a code based on ancient Bedouin, Bedouin, poetry, only to find the Syrian officers didn't know the code. The declassified archives reveal that the CIA attempted to bug the Syrian parliament using mechanical insects, but the devices were too heavy to fly in the thin desert air. The failure of the operation led to a complete purge of pro-Western officers in the Syrian military, effectively ending agency influence in the country for decades. The declassified release highlights the Langley Logistics Hub in Cyprus, which served as the primary staging area for the failed airborne arms drops. The agency developed a silent parachute for Straggle agents, but the black fabric absorbed so much heat during the day that it glowed on early Soviet-made infrared sensors. The declassified logs reveal that the Stragglers were actually a group of agency assets who were left behind in Damascus and had to be extracted through a daring midnight run to the Lebanese border. Historical records from the declassification show the CIA utilized a black bag smuggling route through the anti-Lebanon mountains using mountain mules equipped with specialized silenced horseshoes. The declassified archives confirm that the CIA attempted to stage a fake Soviet invasion of a Syrian border village using local actors in stolen Russian uniforms, but the actors went on strike for higher pay mid-operation. A quote from a declassified 1957 Joint Chiefs of Staff memo: "Operation Straggle has become a liability. The Syrian counterintelligence is not only aware of our assets, but is actively taunting our station officers via public radio." End quote. Agency technicians in the late 1950s developed a sand-resistant ticker for the synchronization of the coup, but the fine Damascus dust was so invasive it caused the internal gears to fuse, making the 0 hour different for every unit. The declassified release highlights Project Breadbasket, a failed attempt within Straggle to corner the Syrian wheat market to force the population into a bread riot against the government. While the Damascus Debacle is well documented, the declassified files on Project Mirage are almost entirely blacked out. What was the agency projecting onto the dunes? Get ready for the theory of the Mirage mission. Speculation suggests the agency didn't just use fake radios, they used experimental holographic tanks. The rumor is that the agency attempted to project a massive ghostly army onto the desert horizon to scare the Syrian army into retreating. The redactions hide the light projection failures and the accounts of Syrian soldiers shooting at thin air. What if the coup was sabotaged by a time traveler? A dark rumor suggests a mole from the future leaked the exact plans to Damascus to prevent a third world war that would have started in Syria. According to this theory, the redactions hide the temporal trace files, evidence of radio signals detected in 1957 that originated from a satellite frequency that wouldn't exist for another 50 years. Did the agency try to recruit a ghost? Gossip suggests the redactions hide Project Spirit, an attempt to use a medium to contact ancient Syrian kings for advice on how to rule the country, with the black ink masking the seance transcripts. The sand submarine theory posits that the redactions hide an agency-built vehicle that could travel beneath the dunes to infiltrate Damascus, with the black bars masking the lithospheric navigation logs. Was the desert heat used as a weapon? Whispers from the Declassified files claim that the redactions hide Project Magnify, where massive mirrors in space were used to heat up specific Syrian military bunkers, and the black ink hides the thermal target coordinates. The mechanical camel rumor suggests the agency deployed early robotic animals equipped with microphones to spy on Bedouin camps, with the black bars masking the hydraulic failure reports. Did the agency try to erase the border? Some believe the redactions describe Operation Cloud, where silver iodide seeding was used to create a permanent fog over the border to hide troop movements, and the black ink covers the meteorological error charts. The ancient antenna theory claims the redactions prove the agency used the ruins of Palmyra, Palmyra, as a massive stone radio to transmit signals to Washington, and the black bars hide the acoustic resonance logs. Is the wind a recording? Gossip suggests the redactions hide Project Echo, where the sound of marching feet was broadcast into the desert at night to keep the Syrian army awake, and the black ink mask the sleep deprivation statistics. Some whisper that the redactions hide the fact that the coup actually did happen, but the agency didn't like the results, so they used collective amnesia drugs on the entire city of Damascus to make them forget the revolution. There's a wild theory that the blacked-out agricultural support files describe a plan to replace all of Syria's wheat with a Langley-modified grain that would make people more susceptible to hypnotic suggestions from fake radio stations. Rumors on the internet suggest the stalled tank columns were actually shape-shifting balloons that the agency bought from a defunct circus, and the black bars hide the inflatable armory receipts. The atomic oasis theory suggests the redactions hide a secret agency-built nuclear reactor buried under the sand to power the Mirage projectors, with the black bars masking the radiation leak logs. Did they use solar-powered bats? Gossip suggests the redactions hide early biomimetic drones, mechanical bats that hung in caves by day and filmed Syrian bases by night, and the black ink mask the Chiroptera surveillance files. The invisible incense rumor claims the redactions prove the agency burned chemicals in the Damascus bazaars that made people hallucinate communist monsters, and the black ink hides the hallucinogenic recipe. Is the Mediterranean watching? Some theorists suggest the redactions cover Project Aqua Vulcan, an attempt to trigger a small tectonic shift to create a tidal wave to distract the Syrian Navy, with the black ink hiding the fault line stimulation logs. The Angel Wing rumor posits that the agency deployed early paratroopers using wingsuits made of material that absorbed light, making them look like falling stars, and the black bars hide the aviation anomaly sightings. Was a famous fortune teller on the payroll? Gossip suggests the redacted consultant files reveal the CIA hired a mystic to predict the exact mood of the Syrian street, and the black ink mask the tarot tension charts. Some believe the 1957 car overheating in the desert was actually an agency test of a microwave heat ray gone wrong, with the black bars hiding the domestic vehicle interference test. Lastly, did they try to make the palace disappear? Rumors claim the redaction's detail Project Vanish, an attempt to use high-frequency sound to create a blur around the Syrian leadership's headquarters to prevent snipers from seeing them, with the black ink hiding the vibration velocity data. Was Operation Straggle a success? Tactically, it was a laughable failure. Almost every secret meeting was monitored. Every bribe was reported. And every radio frequency was jammed. The agency looked like amateurs on the world stage. Strategically, it was a catastrophe. The Union for the next 50 years, the operation's failure pushed Syria directly into the arms of the Soviet Union for the next 50 years. And that led to the rise of the Ba'ath Party. The agency tried to prevent a fire and ended up pouring gasoline on the entire region. As far as technological and operational breakthroughs go, even the greatest failures produce the tools for future success. Burst transmission. Straggle proved that long-form radio signals were too easy to track, leading to the development of modern squelch and burst data burst. Covert currency laundering. The agency refined the process of using foreign-printed local currency to destabilize economies without leaving a U.S. dollar trail. Disguised surveillance vehicles. The laundry truck failure led to much more sophisticated mobile listening posts that could blend into any urban environment. And satellite propaganda. Realizing that ground-based radio was too vulnerable, the agency began prioritizing the use of space-based broadcasting for future psychological operations. Operation Straggle stands as a monument to the dangers of agency hubris. As the declassified files reveal, the Desert Stall wasn't just a failure of planning, it was a failure to listen to the very people they were trying to save. Thanks for listening. Join us next time as we examine Operation Shadow. The agency fought a secret war in Laos for over a decade. We'll uncover the Shadow Army. We'll look at the Hmong guerrillas, Hmong, the Air America supply lines, and the moment the agency became the largest paramilitary force in the world. Join us next time for the Jungle Ghost. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.